Before I jump in, I would like to ask that you leave a comment if you have anything to say about how Doctor Who recently ended, about Ncuti Gatwa's abbreviated era as the Doctor, or about my take on things. I would love to read what you have to say. Moving on. I've waited a long time to make this video. I need to look back at what has become the undeniable failure of Russell T Davies' second tenure. It didn't have to be this way, and Season 2 was much better than Season 1. This new Doctor was finally hitting his stride. Yet it all ended with a confusing whimper. This is my rant, my disappointment, my frustration, and it all starts with the game. You see, I pay attention, I follow along, I look for connections and complexity and long-term storytelling, especially when it comes to a showrunner with a track record like Russell T Davies has. He drops hints, plants seeds, throws out the occasional red herring to keep people guessing, but overall everything pays off in the end. I'm not averse to spoilers, but I also do not seek them out. I want to be surprised as much as possible, but more than that, I want to play the game. The game is, can I figure it out? Can I put the clues together and see where things are going? I tune into the next episode and the next and the next because I want to see if my hunches are correct. This is the game. It is all part of good storytelling. There are clues and hints and suggestions, but there is also misdirection designed to make you look the other way so you don't see the real deal until it is already upon you. There are Chekhov's guns that you expect to go off. Keeping all of these tricks in mind is part of the game. As I followed along with the 3 specials featuring David Tennant's 14th Doctor, I recognized things like accidentally changing the universe through words like mavity, and the introduction of magic and superstition to reality in Wild Blue Yonder. When Ncuti Gatwa's run started in earnest, we saw the word mavity pop up again in his very first official episode, along with the fantastical, dare I say magical, goblins and the mystery of Ruby Sunday. Magic played a large part in 73 Yards, with the disruption of a fairy circle altering the fabric of reality itself, with Ruby Sunday at the center of it. The title, 73 Yards, had its own payoff later in the season when it was established that 73 yards is the range of the TARDIS's perception filter. 73 Yards also showed us that UNIT had incorporated magical defenses into their protocols. Was it always the case, or was it something new because of the 14th Doctor introducing the concept of magic and superstition, and the threat that comes with it? These are the little tidbits I look for and think about. The Devil's Court introduced Maestro, their father being the toy maker who played a role in the 15th Doctor's bi-generation. Maestro claimed that this father, the toy maker, had abandoned his children, which was part of a larger theme over both seasons of parents and children, and parents not being present. This was in Space Babies, Boom, Dot and Bubble, The Well with a mother who just wants to get back to her child, and more. Ruby herself had been abandoned. The Doctor, for the first time in a very long while, mentioned being a parent and having a granddaughter, Susan, a definite Chekhov's gun there. He called himself a dad, which must have been intentional rather than using the neutral word parent, possibly to assuage concerns of a vocal minority complaining about anything they considered woke on the internet. I started making predictions and setting my expectations. We would see more stories about parents and children. The Doctor's role as a parent would be explored, raising the question of who Susan's parents were. The Doctor actually mentioned that he hadn't had children yet, but was somehow aware of a granddaughter? Bad writing? Or a setup waiting for a payoff? We would see Susan again, I was sure of it. Magic and superstition and mavity would come up again. I sat back and played the game. What was I right about? Where did I miss the mark? As Season 1 shifted into Season 2, I got the sense that payoffs might be a long time coming. Davies was playing a longer narrative game this time, with 3 to 4 seasons laid out in some way as things went along. Indeed, it has recently been revealed that Davies had at least 4 episodes for a 3rd season plotted, if not fully written, as Season 2 was airing. Season 3 was already mapped out, and possibly Season 4 to some extent. I predicted that Rogue would make an appearance, and he did in Wishworld. His scenes were shot against green screen during the production of his episode, Rogue, and he had no idea what the line, "tables don't do that," was supposed to mean. That alone shows how far ahead Davies was planning things. In The Well, the doctor reassures Belinda by saying, "I can, I will, I do." That, along with all of the talk about meeting her parents, made me think of wedding vows, and I predicted that the doctor and Belinda would have some kind of romantic relationship, all because of the emphasis on that wording, "I do." In Wishworld, they lived a fictional life as a married couple, and they had a child. The doctor in this fictional life was a dad. In the Robot Revolution, Belinda got a star named after her as a gift. In the Christmas special Joy to the World, a woman named Joy merged with a star. The episodes Lux and The Well also referred to stars. Would stars play a part in the future? When Belinda gets the gift, it is 17 years before the current day, meaning 2008. In Lucky Day, Conrad Clark, as a young boy, comes across the Doctor and Belinda in 2007, then encounters the Doctor and Ruby much later in his life, 17 years later to be precise. I wondered if 17 was important, or if 17 years was a clue of some kind. I predicted that stars would be important, especially with an episode called Wishworld on the horizon, because people wish on stars, don't they? I thought we might see Joy again. Well, we did, but it doesn't make me happy that I was right. But I'll explain that a little later. In Joy to the World, we also met Anita, who wound up working for a time hotel. I predicted, as with Rogue, that we would see Anita again, and perhaps the temporal shifting via doorways could aid the Doctor in the finale. I was right. Anita appeared. The doors proved an asset. I noticed throughout both of Ncuti Gatwa's seasons how often his Doctor was separated from his TARDIS. And with a rival Time Lady as his adversary in the end, access to a time hotel was a nice workaround. Long-term storytelling. The red herrings of season Triad from season 1 possibly being Susan Foreman, the granddaughter, and Mrs. Flood wearing white winter clothes, possibly being Romana, gave way to eventual payoffs when the real Susan, her character reprised by the original actress, finally made her appearance in the Interstellar Song Contest and then in Wishworld, and Mrs. Flood turning out to be the Rani rather than Romana. A delayed payoff with a red herring, and a red herring misdirecting people away from a different time lady. Long-term storytelling, setups and payoffs. I predicted that the Rani would study magic and use it as a weapon. She did so, acquiring the seventh son of a seventh son's seventh son, tapping into superstition and magic to generate a god of wishes. I love playing the game, and Russell T Davies was playing it too, fair and square. In Wild Blue Yonder, the Not Things tried to replace the 14th Doctor and Donna Noble. In Lux, the God of Light tried tricking the Doctor and Belinda into believing that they were fictional characters. In The Well, we had our second run-in with the Midnight Entity who had tried stealing the 10th Doctor's identity. In Lucky Day, Conrad Clark used social media to alter the narrative and promote fiction over fact, reinventing what Unit and the Doctor stood for in the minds of his followers. This made me predict that the Doctor's identity would be stolen, and he would be made fictional in some way. So many clues, so many hints. Then in Wishworld we got exactly that, as I mentioned earlier, the Doctor and Belinda being a fictional married couple, everyone in the world living fictional lives, and the Doctor and Belinda having a fictional child. After the newly bi-generated Rani's demise, Mrs. Flood made a joke that only one YouTuber has mentioned in a review of the reality war as far as I've seen. There was a comedy program. They were the two Ronnies. Here we had two Rannies. At the end of every episode, one Ronnie would say, "It's good night from me." The other would say, "And it's good night from him." The remaining Rani, Mrs. Flood, picks up the time ring and, before making her escape, says, "So much for the two Rannies. It's a good night from me." I wonder how many viewers got that reference. It really suggests reliance on an older viewership. That was not a clue or a red herring. It was just a quick chuckle for those who understood the joke. I could go on, but I won't. That is the game. If you have a good writer and showrunner with a long-term plan and a narrative that knows where it is going, if the creators are fair and not wasting your time, it can be really fun to watch a show like Doctor Who. Of course, every episode has to be entertaining. Every adventure has to be an amazing watch on its own. And we didn't always get that with the 15th Doctor. But even though it might take a while, setups seemed to have payoffs. It was fun. Until the end. And I don't mean the anticlimactic defeat of the barely there season 2 bad guy Omega, or the gone too soon new Rani, whose plans seemed very half-baked. The Time Lords are sterile and infertile. No new Time Lords can be born. The Doctor has known this all along, yet also knew that he had a granddaughter from a child of his own that hadn't been born yet. It just doesn't make any sense. Then the Rani complains that the Doctor and Belinda's new wish baby won't do because it is half human and not pure, and she needed Omega's genetic material to jumpstart Gallifreyan fertility. Those sound like Dalek talking points. Anyways, badly as the Season 2 crisis itself was resolved, the worst came after. Having not heard about a third season renewal from the BBC or Disney+, being in professional limbo and having to turn down work because he didn't know his availability, Ncuti Gatwa wanted out. Russell T Davies, even with a completed finale, decided to do a lot of reshoots, apparently in February of 2025, and apparently using only 3 sets, the TARDIS, Unit HQ, and Belinda's Garden, and close out Gatwa's run and his own return as showrunner by tossing aside what he had planned and giving the 15th Doctor a sudden and unplanned regeneration. The final episode of Season 2 is about 1 hour and 5 minutes long before end credits. At around the 40-minute mark, we are back on the TARDIS. This is where I think the reshoots began, and the final 25 minutes or so are all different from what was originally planned. TARDIS, Unit HQ, Belinda's Garden, those are the only locations we see. The Wish Baby, the Doctor's improbable child with Belinda, disappears on the TARDIS and no one remembers her except for Ruby. This seems to be part of the original ending, with Poppy, the Wish Baby, lingering after the collapse of the Wish world, but eventually seeming to fade away and taking people's memories of her existence with her. The Doctor winks at Ruby, who has always demonstrated a kind of insight beyond what normal people can see, suggesting that while she herself remembers what the Doctor had just lost, he knows also, and doesn't want Belinda to be reminded of a child that never existed, a child that she never planned or wanted. A leaked image from Germany's Disney Plus showed the Doctor and Belinda dancing in a club with a sign saying Happy May Day in the background. Rumored script leaks suggest that this was part of the true ending. Celebrating a victory, the Doctor, Ruby, Belinda, and the members of Unit all go out on the town. Meanwhile, we see Susan Foreman with Poppy. And they walk off together, Susan saying something like, "Come along, Mum." I want to see that ending. I want to see what they originally scripted and shot. Leave on a high note. Wow the audience and give them something to chew on while waiting for Season 3. If Disney Plus and the BBC don't pick it up right away, or don't pick it up at all, if Ncuti Gatwa leaves as planned, deal with that later. Tell your story. Finish what you planned. Pay off some of those setups. Play the game. Nope. Russell T Davies picked up his ball and went home. He killed Doctor Who as a franchise. At Unit HQ, Ruby convinces the Doctor that the baby was real. The Doctor, back in the TARDIS, uses regeneration energy to nudge the newly restored reality a tiny bit so that there is room for one more person, Poppy, his child. Then he is in Belinda's garden and we meet Belinda and her child, purely human, not a product of the Doctor at all. All is well? The Doctor says his goodbyes, goes into space to regenerate, and while he's out there, he talks to Joy in her star form. So we get to see that Joy did reappear, as I predicted. And that's the end of the 15th Doctor, all of these reshoots. But from the moment we met Belinda, she was indifferent to societal expectations like marriage. She lived on her own with some flatmates and focused on her medical career. That was her life. Now, due to the Doctor's actions, while still a nurse, she has become a single mom with a child from a man she had not had a child with before. Granted, they tried to retcon things in the reshoots by having Belinda always having wanted to get back to Earth because of her daughter. We have some callbacks to previous episodes with Belinda wearing the various costumes the character had on in those scenes, each time saying dialogue different from the first time around. She wanted to get back home to her daughter, not just get home to Earth. Yet, some YouTubers have compared scenes and found differences in hair and shot layout, which indicate these callbacks were part of the February reshoots, not intended all along, like the shot with Rogue, leaving hints that will be used further on in the series. By retconning this, by tossing away the Doctor's improbable child and Susan's possible parentage, Susan's appearances in the Interstellar Song Contest and Wish World had no meaning at all. I can't play the game. These reshoots, this not planned, not foreshadowed, not set up ending, it ruins everything. I want to see what the real ending was supposed to be. I want to see if I was right. I paid attention and tried putting things together, and it was all for nothing. It is unfair. It is a disservice to viewers who turned in week after week or let the episodes stack up and binge it all on streaming. Watching to the end proved to be a waste of time because we didn't get the ending that was intended all along. This is a Rise of Skywalker, it was Palpatine all along level of garbage storytelling. Even worse, Star Wars Episode 9 had no plan because that trilogy was mishandled from the start. Doctor Who Season 2 had an actual ending, planned and shot with payoffs for things we had seen and setups for things to come. Palpatine was a desperate last-minute attempt at course correction. The ending of the reality war was just abandonment, cynical disrespect for fans, and, as Davies has admitted, a pathetic grab at social media engagement. I feel really let down because what did I watch 16 episodes for? This Doctor will only be remembered with a bitter taste in people's mouths, if he is remembered at all. Will Doctor Who continue? Probably, eventually. It has been cancelled before and brought back to massive acclaim. Will Russell T Davies be part of it? I hope not. Any goodwill I had for him after his first run has evaporated. I just wanted to play the game. He took that away from me. I don't trust him now. I hope I can trust Doctor Who whenever it comes back. Fingers crossed. End of rant. If you enjoyed this video, have anything to add, agree or disagree with my take on things, are interested in more videos on entertainment topics of all kinds, please consider leaving a like, or leaving a comment, or subscribing to my channel. Any and all of those would be greatly appreciated. Thanks for watching. See you next time.